Shedeur Sanders didn't just win a head-to-head drill. He redefined what it means to win in a high-performance environment. What took place wasn't merely a quarterback competition. It was a symbolic transfer of power, a passing of the torch from established greatness to emerging brilliance. When Sanders stepped onto that field, all eyes were fixed on the veteran Pro Bowl quarterback, a man with years of elite experience, arm talent that had wowed scouts for nearly a decade. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. And a reputation built on consistency. But it was a young man, just barely removed from his college pads, who took control of the moment, not by being flashy, not by talking trash, but by delivering flawless execution. Observers expected a respectful showing. Maybe Sanders would hold his own, maybe show a few flashes of brilliance and walk away with a moral victory. But what actually happened? He outperformed a veteran in every measurable category. Drills designed to test precision under pressure, the ability to hit tight windows, and perform rapid-fire decision-making saw Sanders executing throws most quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt. It wasn't just physical ability on display. It was vision, timing, and mental processing at a level typically seen in seasoned professionals, not young prospects. Sanders completed 28 out of 30 throws, including a back-foot 45-yard laser into a narrow sideline gap that made even the opposing quarterback's trainer nod in appreciation. Onlookers gasped. Cameras captured NFL scouts glancing at each other, eyebrows raised, shaking their heads in disbelief. This wasn't just a strong arm, it was surgical. The Pro Bowl QB, meanwhile, missed 3 critical throws and showed slight hesitation on his reads. It was subtle. But in a drill designed to mimic live game speed, that fraction of a second was everything. Dan Orlovsky's reaction wasn't just media hyperbole when he went on ESPN and said, "That might have been the best quarterback workout I've seen since Mahomes at Texas Tech." It wasn't just about throws. It was about demeanor. Sanders exuded a calm, commanding presence. He wasn't trying to outshine anyone. He was simply doing what he does best, solving the puzzle, one read at a time, one throw at a time. What makes Sanders' ascent even more remarkable is how he handles the noise. After the workout, as social media exploded and pundits scrambled to rewrite their scouting reports, Sanders posted a single sentence: "Just getting started." No hashtags, no self-congratulatory edits. Just a reminder that for him, this was a checkpoint, not a destination. One NFL scout who was present reportedly whispered to a colleague, "He's got that Brady brain with Mahomes' movement." That's not a compliment thrown around lightly, but that kind of hybrid skill set, a quarterback who can move but chooses to slice up a defense with precision, has become the gold standard in today's NFL. And yet, Sanders doesn't seem to be chasing anyone else's archetype. He's not trying to be the next Brady or Mahomes or Manning. He's working with a blueprint that looks tailor-made for a quarterback room, that values depth of understanding over flash and viral highlights. He studies differently, prepares differently, commands differently. What's especially notable about this head-to-head workout was how Sanders responded to adversity. Midway through the drill, the organizers adjusted the throwing lanes, shrinking the windows, adding in motion defenders, increasing noise levels. It was designed to fluster, to throw timing off. The Pro Bowl quarterback showed signs of discomfort, overcompensating by forcing throws. Sanders, he adjusted, made 2 audible reads on the fly, shifted his launch angle, and nailed both targets, one across his body, the other fading back under simulated pressure. That moment revealed something that tape and stats often miss: situational intelligence. It's one thing to make throws in a clean pocket with no variables. It's another to adapt in real time when the ground shifts beneath you. That's what quarterbacks are paid for. And Sanders, in that drill, showed he's already wired for it. Behind the scenes, coaches and trainers have noted Sanders' obsessive attention to detail. He arrives early, rewatches practice reps, then cross-references those with old game film. Not just his own, but quarterbacks he admires. His process is as meticulous as it is relentless. He keeps a handwritten log of missed reads and miscommunications, and reviews them each week like a lawyer studying case files. Even his footwork has evolved since last season. Trainers credit his ability to remain balanced through complicated progressions as a major reason for his improved velocity and accuracy, where many quarterbacks rely solely on upper body mechanics. Sanders has synchronized his hips, shoulders, and release into one fluid motion, giving him the ability to hit targets across the field without resetting. But what really shook scouts wasn't just the drills, it was his field IQ. In a scripted scenario designed to simulate a 2-minute drill with limited timeouts, Sanders operated with near military precision. He managed the clock, recognized the defensive coverage shell before the snap, and audibled into a check down to preserve yardage, all while guiding his hypothetical offense down the field in under 70 seconds. That's the stuff coaches dream of. That's the difference between talent and franchise potential. And let's not forget the intangible factor: trust. His receivers, most of whom had just met him days before, gravitated to him instantly. They spoke of a quarterback who listens more than he talks, who leads by example, and who already had a reputation for never missing study sessions or film breakdowns. That kind of chemistry isn't built in weeks. It's earned through authenticity. The ripple effects of this performance are already being felt. The Colorado Buffaloes coaching staff has ramped up their offensive scheme to maximize Sanders' processing speed and adaptability. NFL teams who previously overlooked him are scheduling private interviews and late-night film sessions to reevaluate. One GM reportedly said, "We had him as a mid-round guy. Now we're wondering if we're looking at the best QB in this draft." That's the kind of shift we're talking about. One workout, one opportunity, and Shedeur Sanders turned it into a movement. But even in the midst of this rising storm, Sanders remains unmoved. No flashy interviews. No marketing blitz, just film sessions, footwork drills, and quiet excellence. When asked recently what drives him, he replied, "I'm not trying to prove anyone wrong. I'm trying to prove myself right." That's the mindset of a winner. Now, let's be clear. This is just one step in a long journey. The real tests lie ahead. Conference championships, bowl games, national television spotlights, the NFL combined. But what Sanders has already proven is that he's not here to simply compete. He's here to elevate the game. Analysts will debate rankings. Scouts will compare tangibles. Critics will nitpick mechanics. But one thing is already certain. In a head-to-head test of precision, preparation, and pressure, Shedeur Sanders didn't just rise to the occasion. He owned it, and the football world took notice. The training facility fell silent as Sanders lined up for his final rep in the precision passing gauntlet, the same one that had tested and humbled veteran quarterbacks for years. A Pro Bowl quarterback had just completed the drill moments earlier with a respectable showing, Sharpe calculated, with only 2 missed targets. The crowd of scouts and analysts murmured approvingly, but there was a sense that something more was about to happen. Sanders had already completed a flawless warm-up session, launching balls with surgical placement, each throw bearing the stamp of a quarterback who had not only mastered mechanics, but also internal rhythm and timing. As the rep began, he launched a dart to the sideline, 45 yards on a rope, hitting the moving target within a 2-foot window. No wobble, no adjustment, just a frozen spiral that whistled through the air and smacked the pad dead center. The first target was hit, then the second, then the third. The drill sped up, the targets moved faster. The defenders mimicking pressure cues came closer. Sanders didn't flinch. He stepped into the pocket with the calm of a surgeon, head scanning, feet whispering against the turf. Another missile, then another. Onlookers began to realize they weren't just watching a good quarterback prospect. They were witnessing a transformation. Something was clicking that went beyond drills or mechanics. This wasn't just about throws. It was about dominance. Command. A young man moving like he had already seen the rep 10 seconds before it happened. Dan Orlovsky, observing from the sideline with his arms crossed, suddenly turned to his assistant and whispered, "I haven't seen this level of fluidity and decisiveness since Andrew Luck. Maybe better." And that wasn't hyperbole. Sanders' footwork was crisp, but not robotic. His shoulders were relaxed, not stiff. He flowed like water, and every motion had purpose. The most difficult throw of the drill, designed to simulate a collapsing pocket with 2 edge rushers closing in, required the quarterback to drip backwards, reset his feet, and deliver a deep-out route to a corner of the field just before a hypothetical safety could break on the ball. The margin for error, less than a second. Sanders didn't just complete the throw. He hit the mark with such speed and precision that the crowd audibly gasped. One of the scouts dropped his pen, and then it was over. Sanders walked off the field slowly, unfazed by the ovation now building behind him. He removed his helmet, took a sip of water, nodded to Pro Bowl quarterback he had just upstaged, and quietly said, "Good work out there." No trash talk, no chest pounding, just quiet, focused confidence, the kind of demeanor NFL general managers dream about. Word of the workout spread quickly. Within hours, team executives from organizations across the league were texting their scouting departments. "Give me every snap he's played this year." One message read, "We might be looking at QB1 in the future." But behind the performance lay something more profound, an emotional undercurrent that few in the room could fully articulate, but everyone felt. This wasn't just a young athlete trying to prove himself. It was a young man lifting a generational weight off his shoulders. The name Sanders carried immense prestige, but also enormous pressure. Growing up in the public eye, under the constant comparison to Deion Sanders, meant Shedeur had always been measured not by what he did, but whether he could ever live up to what came before him. This workout, this moment, changed that narrative. It wasn't just what Sanders did with the ball in his hands. It was how he did it, the decision-making, the awareness, the subtle eye manipulation that moved imaginary safeties just far enough to open throwing lanes. Those weren't traits taught in QB camps. Those were instincts born from obsessive study, relentless reps, and a desire to be great on his own terms. Back at Colorado, the coaching staff had already noticed a shift. Sanders wasn't just preparing for another college season. He was engineering a campaign. He had installed a play recall routine, where he and his receivers would randomly quiz each other on formations and hot reads mid-practice. He brought in a sleep coach to optimize recovery. He cut down his social media use, blocking out distractions and locking into his purpose. He even started mentoring the second-string quarterbacks and young offensive linemen, spending time off the field explaining protections and adjustments. It wasn't about ego. It was about ecosystem. He understood that his success would hinge on everyone being ready, and he was doing the work to raise their readiness. What startled some of the coaches was his capacity to lead without sounding like a dictator. Sanders spoke with clarity, not volume. He motivated with inclusion, not intimidation. He had learned, perhaps from watching both his father's flamboyant leadership and its consequences, that great leaders aren't loud, they're consistent, trustworthy, intentional. NFL scouts love to label quarterbacks as system QBs or raw talents. But with Sanders, there was no easy label. He was both, and more. He didn't just run plays. He operated in layers. In practice, he would read the safety's body angle, identify the linebacker's depth in the zone, and make an adjustment before the snap. In a post-drill huddle, he explained how the defensive coordinator across the field was showing a simulated pressure based on the coach's known fourth down tendencies from his SEC days. These weren't guesses. These were